That works.
All right. He hit the record button and everything.
All right. Okay, now it took us almost.
Now that we wasted our 1 hour that we had together.
Yeah. 8 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if your video would be better on the side because it's like only like half of each of you's face unless you like, hug each other. Right.
I did it sideways, but then you were sideways.
Oh,
There it goes. Finally. Huge.
There we go.
It's pet cat. Problem exists between keyboard and chair.
That's you. You're in front of the keyboard. I'm in front of the mouse. All right. Well.
So the reason why we wanted to contact you and have this call was to kind of show everybody in our friends lists, basically that Baby Beard Club is not some crazy corporate company, and kind of just tell them the origin and kind of hang out and drop some F-bombs.
We can do that. We can do that for sure. Yeah, man. So, okay. So I guess to tell the beard story, we have to back up and kind of tell I guess the origins of our business expertise, if you would call it. I know on Facebook, Kevin alluded to a show that some guys and I used to do called Home of the Hustle. And one of the World Wide Web famous quotes in my mind is that I beat the street so hard, I swear someday I'll get a bill for the potholes. And what that means is just like everybody, man, I was, brought up back in the 1900s. I was born in 75 and grew up in that era where our parents still told us, go get a job, get a career, get an education, and get a pension, put your 30 or 40 years in. And that was the story that I was sold growing up. And so that's what I thought that's how life was. And so, although my dad was self-employed pretty much my entire life, so I went out there and I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I knew that, I wasn't really investing in further education as far as the traditional method of college was not a good investment for me. And so next best thing was to teach my hands a trade. And so I went out and I thought, man, what can I do to get paid and always know that I can be employed? And so I went out, I learned how to weld, it wasn't because I thought welders were, cool guys and stuff. They always get paid, always do good work. And so I learned how to do that right out of high school, got a job welding. The last job I had, I started Valentine's Day, 1994. Some of y'all may not even be alive back then. Valentine's Day, 94, I was 18 years old. And so
we were five.
Yeah.
Sorry, had to do it.
So when you guys were about 5 years old, eating boogers and stuff, I was, welding and throwing sparks and doing all the cool stuff. So I started my last job. I was 18, and they had this retirement program, this pension. You put 30 years in, you can retire. And so I thought that was cool. At 48, I was going to retire with all the benefits, man. Going to travel the world, do whatever I wanted. And then next thing I know, they sold the company. And typically when they sell a company, the first thing they do is they go chop benefits to show a profit. And so there went my retirement program. About that time, my rose-colored glasses were kind of broken. And I realized, wait a minute, this isn't as safe and secure as what I thought it was. And so I literally said, what else can I do, with my hands? And I knew a guy that did this thing called paintless dent repair, PDR, fixing hail damage on cars. And I thought, man, it's just working with your hands. So why don't I do that? And so I bought a $100 videotape, VHS tape. I watched it over and over, and I just went out and I practiced the trade until eventually I just quit my job and just started hustling. I literally opened the phone book, and like old Grant Cardone says, like, who's got my money? He's like, okay, so I need to find out who I can go call, who I can go see and do some business with, trade my service for their money. And so I did that. I just opened the phone book and started hustling. Called them up. Hey, I'm Frank Sell, man. I just started this thing. You know, I watched this videotape and I learned how to do this. You know, my hands are pretty talented, and you know, I can fix your cars all up, and just again, until we've eventually built up a book of business. And that's what I've done for 16 years now. That was March of 2003 when I quit my job. And so that has taught me a lot of things. It hasn't exactly been a smooth road. You know, it's been a lot of lessons learned. And so one of the things that taught me, though, is as a man, as a husband, as a father, how irresponsible it was for me to not do things in a different way. So what that means is that, like, if I break this little guy right here, hello, then I'm out of business. I can't make money. I can't earn money. And so that's where, probably about 5 years ago, I kind of started piddling around with like multi-level marketing, and then that kind of led into some online e-commerce, like kind of like Amazon, selling stuff online. And then, as Kevin alluded to, me and some guys, we started a show called Home of the Hustle. We were, you know, kind of like you guys with DoubleB. You know, we were just like, we were on the same mission, and we just kind of collaborated. And it's like, you know what? There's a lot of shit that we don't know to go on the path that we want to go on. And so why don't we just create a show where we can go out and interview people that know the stuff that we don't know, and we just share the value with an audience. And we had no clue what we were doing. I mean, how we still don't. But what happened was, by interviewing these people, then that kind of elevated us to their so-called social status, but then it also developed relationships. And so that when this miracle beard sauce that my wife had been hiding the whole time as eyelash and hair growth serum, that when she made it for me, and I started telling people that have literally done millions of dollars of business in branding or e-commerce and selling products online, I started telling some people, it's like, hey man, my wife made this deal. I bought this silly domain just because I thought it was cool and funny. I think we have an idea here that we can make a business out of. Every single person that I talked to that had results in the area that I was looking to expand into, every one of them said, man, that's a great idea. You should do that. And so that's why, you know, initially we pushed forward with the idea.
So what's a VHS tape? No, I'm just kidding.
I still have one of those.
No, it's right here. That's the great thing about a big beard, man. You can hide all these in here that you want. Like,
yep.
You got a flock of them.
And I thought mine was looking good. Everyone's like, man, you're using oils and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, except it's not that big. Only hides my double chin.
Man, I'm right there with you.
But so from what I understood, at one time you had mentioned the place that I met you at was Meltdown in the Desert.
Still jealous.
Yeah, you were. And I was sitting there with this other guy, and we're both like super introverted, awkward, like just kind of like, and everyone's like, you got to network and meet people. And I'm like, I'm going to go hide in the corner. And then you come up, Frank goes, hi, I'm Frank. What's your name? I'll tell him, shake his hand. He's like, all right, cool, good to meet you. Just walks off. I was like, huh, that was a cool dude. So
come back, I want to talk again.
So like, what was it? A couple months after that is when Baby Beard Club launched, and you had mentioned something about how that kind of gave you the inspiration where you basically said, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah. And, you know, and kind of, you know, the Frank Sell that you met was not the Frank Sell that started the welding job in 1994 or even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so it, what happened, you know, in the networking events, I mean, man, I'm taking, you know, for me, I'm taking time away from my family, and I'm making a time investment and a money investment. And there's one thing that I know from being in business for 16 years now is that, man, a businesses built on relationships are so much more solid than profit or anything else. And so that's where I just enjoy going out and, communicating, connecting with people, and it's kind of that event that weekend. We'd been doing the Home of the Hustle, and kind of trying to build our own personal brands. And I've been watching Sean Whalen and Ryan Mickler and that other Garrett White guy, and some of these guys in this social media influencer space. Mm-hmm. And I was like, just I knew there was something. I knew that there was a reason that I had gone through things in life, but I wasn't quite sure what that was or how or why. And at that event, I went there, and then it just finally dawned on me that, and that's the power of putting yourself in places where there's people that are in positions that maybe you want to aspire to or grow to. But, I went there, and, after really meeting Sean in person and Ryan Mickler and Colby and all these different people, it just dawned on me, like, wait a minute. Okay, their stories are really good, and they've found a way to internalize their story, figure out what it really means to them, and then just tell people. I was like, man, I don't know how you feel, bro. Man, I franked it up big time. But I'll tell you what I found, though. This is what helped it. And so I started looking at that, and I mean, no shit, I was sitting in the bleachers with everybody else, and on that Saturday of the Meltdown event, I was like, you know what? The picture is kind of, I have a little bit more clarity now. That there's a divine intelligence, the God that puts things in our path. But so many of us, we just don't have the lens to see it. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I was sitting in the bleachers, and I'm just kind of like, wait a minute. These guys are just telling their story. I've got a story that when you look at the energy behind our story of childhood and growing up and starting the business, and then you're having relationships that maybe they didn't work out the way I thought they should, but they worked out the way they needed to for me to learn the lesson. I'm kind of hard-headed. You got to hit me really hard in the head. My marriage started out, rocky, because there was an attachment of energy, over here on this other side of the bridge. And so I never learned whose thinking I was thinking. That's Frankism. And so I never learned whose thinking I was thinking. And all this stuff was like swirling around in my head, and just the clarity popped up. It's like, wait a minute. Okay, so here's this idea for a beard oil company that I bought the domain in 2016 because I had been watching like all the Dollar Beard Club guys and their cool little videos and machismo and skinny pants and flannel shirts and all that good stuff. It's really good marketing, but I've been watching that, and I was like, that's not manhood. That's just a beard, and there's no brotherhood behind that. They talk about, so many companies talk about brotherhood, but there's no brotherhood behind it. And so in 2016, I just went to GoDaddy and I bought the domain for $2. And I sat on it. And then in, I think, March of 17, I actually started the Facebook page and just started the website. And then 17, yeah. So then at about June or July of 17, whenever that was at the Meltdown, I was sitting there and I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to go back to GoDaddy. And I thought, there's Lions Not Sheep, there's Wake Up Warrior, there's Order of Man. And I just typed in Armored Up Man, and armoredupman.com was available. I was like, well, that's mine. That was for me. And so I went, bought it for $2 or whatever. And then right then and there, I went and started the Facebook page, started the group, and started the Instagram page. And the reason being is that here we have this company, Baby Beard Club, that is a vehicle to sell shit to men, to market to men. You know, and a lot of times I'm joking around and drop F-bombs, and, you know, it's not really exactly a serious tone. There's so many people out there that do the stoic, and you got to be all gruff and grunt. It's like, hell, man, have a good time. It's not all about the stoicism. And so here's this idea of, I realize my purpose in life is to help men understand who's thinking they're thinking, because we get so caught up in life and just trying to survive, we don't stop and realize that from 0 to 7 years old, we basically get all of our emotional and relational and financial programming, and then we just repeat those same 7 years until we die. We don't grow outside of that shell. And so here's a company, a business that can put me in front of men. Here's kind of like a mission, a purpose, and it really gelled. And so that was when, at Meltdown in the Desert, when I really decided to commit to those two things. And so that's where, we move now to, now it's 2019. I just get more and more clarity on, putting the horse in front of the cart instead of the cart in front of the horse.
I like that, because I listen to your podcast every time I'm stuck in the control room and I want to just leave, because that place is literally the worst place on plant site. But it's helped me, and I know I've given it to other guys and they really like it. But I guess the next question would be, why did your wife decide to go like essential oils? Everybody in the olden days liked the essential oils. Is it something that she maybe just found work? Is it just something she Googled?
Probably got a history behind it as well,
Yeah.
though, because of her heritage and her background, right?
Yeah, a little bit of both. For those of you that are watching this or maybe listening to this later down the road, my wife is a hot Australian. And so why that's important is like just their outlook and their lifestyle is different than it is here in the United States. Like, they don't allow GMOs and antibiotics in the beef, and there's a lot more strict regulations on stuff down there. And so, as a matter of fact, funny story, the first time she ever saw orange cheese in her life was when she moved to the States. So just let that sink in.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so what happened is, over the years and through these processed foods, through stress and through things that happen in life, she developed what's called Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid issue, a thyroid disease. It's like back up under here, and it controls like a lot of your weight, and it's just a lot of women have that. It goes misdiagnosed or undiagnosed as something else, but we found out she has Hashimoto's, and so it's what they call an autoimmune disease. And so what that means is it's brought on by our environment. So the things that we put into our bodies, on our bodies, and the stress that we allow into our mind and into our heart. And so, we've been, spent so much time and energy and money trying to fix this the traditional way of going to the doctors and stuff without getting improved results, that she decided to take ownership and change our lifestyle. And so that means everything in our house she makes from scratch that she can make, like our toothpaste, our body wash, our laundry detergent, our ketchup, mayonnaise. Like, there's jars of fermented crap all over the house, and it is crazy the stuff that she makes, from scratch. And so that is a reason, where the essential oils come in, because there's, from, biblical times, they talk about the frankincense and the myrrh and all the different stuff. Well, there's just so many different things that these oils do that it's kind of coming full circle now, that people are kind of catching on. It's like, wait a minute. I don't have to go to the doctor, and maybe I can be proactive instead of reactive. Maybe I can take responsibility and not eat, that donut or drink 3 pops a day. So that's kind of what led into, the essential oils and making all this stuff.
Did he cut out?
Uh-oh.
No.
Oh, we just stopped.
You just stopped abruptly.
We were like,
I was like, crap, it's broken kid. No.
let's go into this. Okay, yeah, I mean that's awesome. My girlfriend's actually doing that, and she's like, I want to get this, I want to get this, I want to get this. I go, I know how to kill it, I know how to skin it, I know how to cook it. That's about it. And she's like, well, you're gonna find out with me. And I go, well, you better find somebody that knows how to do that. And I mean, she really likes it. Like, I use Miracle Bro today. I mean,
me too.
damn, bro. I mean, yeah, I will praise that stuff. And my girlfriend tried to steal it, so it's locked in my gun safe now.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. And I mean, so the next question would be, like we saw, was it Get Shit Done? That the ingredients changed. What was it? Is it something that maybe making it better, or something you didn't put on the label, or kind of thought?
Okay, so I'm not sure about. Oh, okay. So you guys have the old labels.
I have the old label, and I've got the new.
Okay.
Label.
Yeah. All right. I'm not really sure. I think what happened is because we have 5 different blends in order to make those more consistent, easier to mix them up and still maintain the effect, then we just kind of narrowed things down. It's like, for everybody that's watching this, here's what happened with the beard oil. So they talked about, the DoubleBs here talk about Miracle Bro. And so what happened is, when I told my wife, like 2 years ago, I did not have this. I was kind of in that category of a lot of guys, like, I'm not sure that this will grow out. And so I told my wife I'd seen all the cool guy ads, and I want to go buy some of their beard oil to help my beard grow. And that's when she said, no, I'll take my homemade, all natural eyelash hair growth serum stuff she puts on her hair and lashes. She said, I'll make that into a beard oil for you. And just the damnedest thing was, the first night I used it, I slept really good. I mean, like drool on the pillow kind of sleep. And so I asked her what happened, and she told me it was essential oils. And so that's where we'll backtrack to when I started telling people, like, wait a minute, we got this idea for an essential beard oil. Because, if it's an all natural beard oil, it has essential oils in it, but it's marketed to the vanity aspect of, a whiskey barrel or tobacco this or vanilla that. But they don't actually leverage the therapeutic effects of the essential oil. And so literally it's like a facial diffuser where the aromatherapy is right there in your face, and you also absorb it through your skin. And so that's where the lineup came. The Miracle Bro is still basically my wife's all natural hair and eyelash growth serum. So that's where Brad was saying, like, man, we sell just as much of that to women as we do guys, because they can still put on their hair and lashes.
So actually, funny story. Last night in our live, I put on some lights out. It was about 8:30, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And Brad left. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm watching TV, and I woke up at about 5 a.m. I realized that I slept all night like a baby, but I forgot to put my CPAP on.
Oh, wow.
But I still slept like a champ.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I died, so that worked.
Yeah, I'd have gotten the phone call. Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing, and just,
except you don't sleep with CPAP.
No, I'm lucky enough to not have a CPAP yet. I'm probably gonna have to have one. My entire family on both sides has a CPAP, but like we talking about my friend Zach Nickel. He served in the Army for, I think, 6 years, 7 years, and went to Afghanistan 3 times on, some massive pills for PTSD, and sleeping pills, and we were talking about it. And one time he was just complaining that he just, couldn't sleep, couldn't this, couldn't that. I'm like, dude, I have some beard oil. I got an extra bottle. I'll bring you over some. And he goes, it's not going to work. I go, dude, just try it. I just want you to try it. And so he tried it and called me the next day and was, dude, that's the longest I've slept since before Afghanistan. I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I mean, when he remembers to do it, I mean, he's like, I'll consistently sleep 8 hours and I'll feel great.
Man.
And I told him, I'm like, that works. I mean, you tricked your wife and put it behind her ears a little bit and calmed her down a little bit. I also got the bottle of Happy, and I gave it to one of my family friends, Braden. He really stresses with like depression and anxiety stuff. So I told him, like, I want you to try this for the next 30 days and then come and talk to me. And so we're going to see how that works for him, because he's weaned himself off the drugs because he's tired of not being here and mentally. And so I'm really hoping it works. And I mean, I smelt it and it was good. I'd wear it just because it smelled amazing.
Well, and that's one of the things that I kind of know. There's so many layers to this thing and aspects. Like you were talking about your girlfriend, and I noticed right away, like there's just huge, like multi-billion-dollar essential oil market, and multi-million-dollar like beard oil or man market, and this is a great way to bridge the gap for a lot of guys that kind of like, oh, this is a beard oil, not essential oils, and like it's like, come on, man,
yeah,
and kind of get in there. And I love what you're talking about your girlfriend, because that's also like a paradigm that my wife and we live. That my wife and I live, so like, she's all about taking care of the home and stuff. So it's kind of the traditional lifestyle of I'm the breadwinner, and she's the bread cutter and cooker, and I go out and make the bacon, and she cooks the bacon, and she loves that part of the lifestyle, because for her, that fulfills her heart to serve and feed her family and take care of her family. And so it's a little paradigm that we call my kingdom, her castle, our empire, meaning that when I come home, I serve my queen in the castle. I don't try and rearrange the bookshelf and tell her how to do this or that. I try to come home and help, because when I leave the castle and go out in the kingdom and out in the streets and doing the hustling and doing the work, and she's told me before, it's like, man, I don't care if I don't see you for 3 weeks. You just go out and do what you need to do and bring home the bacon. And together, the two of us, we fulfill our roles and we are building an empire.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something that actually me and my girlfriend talked about. I mean, you guys are getting ready to move, and me and Beck are getting ready to go and do that. And she's like, well, how are we going to do this? Like, well, we're just going to do it. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. And I mean, I think it means a lot to a lot of people that, you can if you can find a product that works, that's something that's meaningful. I mean, if I find, something that's an overweight, piece of crap, then I'm going to tell everybody it's an overweight piece of crap. But if it's something like beard oil that actually works, I mean, I'm going to push it till my fingers bleed, because it's just that good of a product. And now, why did you start Armored Up Man? Not just because you wanted to help men, but did you start it to kind of bring men together and start talking about things, or be vocal about things, or what was your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's like, the Armored Up Man, it's a big part of that is our Facebook community. And it's a closed group, meaning that the public eyes can't see in there. And the reason being is that I know, like, for me, I'm not afraid to talk about a lot of stuff that I franked up, and I've franked up a lot of stuff, and but I've learned lessons through that, because it's not things that happen to me, they're things that happen for me to fulfill my potential. And I know there's a lot of guys that because they've sent me messages or I've talked to them personally, and they'd say, man, that video or this post, that it really meant a lot to me, or I'm going through the same thing, but they don't want to expose that to the world. And so here we have, a community behind closed gates that we can, talk about stuff as men, or maybe say, hey man, I need some help with this, or say, hey, I went through this experience, and this helped me out. And so that's why we created that. So that's something that, I'm still trying to get clarity on, exactly how it's going to look in the future. But I know it's whatever avenues of a podcast, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And so it's trying to meet people where they're at and kind of communicate with them in the way that they want to be communicated with. I know not everybody likes Instagram, not everybody likes YouTube, not everybody likes listening to a podcast. And so it's trying to find a way and a platform to everything funnels back to the Facebook community is where, I want to, land people. And then eventually what I want to do is maybe do like, a live Zoom broadcast like this weekly, different things, and kind of build out some kind of, national or regional meetups. There's a couple of other organizations that I've had guys on the podcast. I think Corey Huddleston and Paul Beam. Paul Beam, he has a deal down in Texas where 30, 40 guys get together and camp out and do man stuff for the weekend. That's all kind of Christ-centered, his deal. And so it's just something that I got the message that I need to do this. I don't need to know it all right now. I just know I need to do this. And by moving my feet, the answers will show up. And so that's why I just keep moving. So that's right now we're in a position that I think as you guys are in the community, so that I'm not as active as I have been. The podcast I'm not as active as I have been. Because we really in our lives and our personal stuff, like we've been going through some shit, like some serious shit, and so I'm letting that discern through my armor a little bit at a time to figure out what part of the story is actually mine that I can share, and just kind of going through this process and knowing that someday somehow I'm going to be able to share this. I will be able to share this stuff, and it's going to help a lot of men and a lot of families.
Yeah, I like that.
I actually ran for a while with kind of the same idea, except I was focused on men who were fathers and not with their kids' mom,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of help them go through all that. So
Mm-hmm.
then Facebook kind of shut it down for whatever reason, but then I never restarted it. But and then one of my friends opened a group just like that, and I let him roll with it and just take the whole idea and go.
Yeah.
So I think that's highly beneficial to a lot of people. And one of the biggest challenges I learned was a lot of guys will kind of refuse to open up or refuse help, or you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a challenge to own a group like that. So if you can get a lot of people in there and start building that community, it's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It's from I think Sean posted up a book the other day, A Man of Steel and Velvet, and I sent that book to him, and that was really a pretty strong book about regardless of whose fault it is, it's my responsibility. And so there's something I've learned, and I actually learned this, through network marketing and mentoring and stuff like that. I watched this process of what a good mentor would do. And, so the way this happened for me in 2013, I think it was 2009, somewhere in there, ended the relationship with my children's biological mother, 2010, no, 2000, it was 2010, 2011. My wife and I, we got married, and neither one of us had dealt with the toxicity from our past. Neither one of us had a good example on how to do a marriage, not just have a marriage. And so there was just, man, there's no communication. There was communication breakdowns and just all kinds of struggles. And so finally, all of my buddies around me, they'd been going to this deal called, gosh, can't think of it now. That's too funny. But it was the men's church weekend. And so the big thing that was centered around was Galatians 5:1. And what that Galatians 5:1 says is that there you've been set free. Therefore, or basically Christ set you free. Therefore, do not let yourself be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. And so what that means, whatever it is, porn, pride, lust, guilt, whatever is got you yoked down, held down, that is meant to equip you, not whip you. That price is already paid. You already paid the price for it. Now get the lesson and get the value and get the power out of it, and go out and help other people transfer that energy. And so, going through that whole process, it was 2013. I remember, man, I broke open, the water well was flowing, and like all this pain and hurt and stuff that I'd been internalizing came out. And then the process began, because that was on a Saturday, and then it was about a Wednesday of the next week. I called up an old family friend that, and there's a common theme with the way I do things. They have to have results and fruit on the tree. And so I called this guy up because their whole family is something that my wife and I wanted to model our family around. The whole cousins, uncles, everybody, did stuff together. A really tight family unit. And they're all really good with money. And their faith life was really strong. And so this guy, my dad worked for him back in the 70s. And so I called him up, said, hey man, I just accepted Christ in my life. I don't know what to do. All I know is that basically the Bible says this and science says this: there can be no vacuum in nature. And so there's got to be something filling that space. And so it's like, the Bible says, when you kick Satan out of your life, the devil, whatever bad habits, then he's going to come back with 7 buddies and try to get his spot back. So there can't be a void. So I knew I needed to reach out and take control of what is going in my mind, which is, the armor, which is being able to discern, is this true? Is this right? So that way I can filter what actually gets to my heart and I get to internalize. And so that was the process I went through. I've been talking so long, I forgot what the question was.
We're starting to sound like me now.
Yeah, don't sound like him. He's young and losing his mind.
Uh-huh.
So I don't worry.
I've already got Alzheimer's.
Yeah. You walk into a room. Why did I walk in here? Oh yeah, that's what I walked in here for.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I don't remember the question either.
I don't either.
What?
It was a really good one though.
It was. I think it was about Armored Up Man, and oh yeah, you were talking about how some men can't open up and release.
Well, you asked about Armored Up Man.
Yeah.
That's what started that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of what, by me sharing my stories and stuff, through social media, through video especially, what happens is as you are talking about these things and you hear the words, the vibrations coming out of your mouth. I swear this is what happens, because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word, all the power is in the Word. So as you're speaking these things, you then begin to understand, wait a minute, is this how I really feel about this? Because as you're speaking the words, you're listening to yourself talk. And there's old videos where I stopped right in the middle of it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And so I get a better understanding by talking about this. And what that does is that it's kind of like what Sean Whalen talks about, being the lighthouse. Then it makes it okay for other guys to say, oh, wait a minute. He franked it up worse than I did. He's gone through something just like me. And so what it's doing is it's kind of lending credibility, lending power to them until they're able to develop their own power and own strength and understanding of what they're going through.
Not only that, when you do a video and you're talking about your past and things that you franked up, it's actually really free. I've done a lot of those lives and stuff like that, and that group that I had. You get done and you're like, you know what? That was my fault. I own it. This is what I'm going to do to move on, and you're good. So I think it just there's a lot of power in taking a video and just being honest.
Totally. Yeah, it totally is. And that's what I found, through Home with a Hustle and stuff, just by doing that and literally, like, it's like so many people just love the $100 videotape story because to me, that was 100 years ago. But it, to some people, to a lot of people, they need permission, and I was at the same place. I needed permission. There was people that I knew that do what I do, and they told me that you got to have all this training, you got to do this, you got to be qualified or whatever. I kept looking around, waiting for validation or permission from somebody, until finally I just said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it." I'd been at my job almost 10 years. I was making over $20 an hour. I had 4 weeks vacation, all the insurance, all the BS. And I was like, you know what? I started this job when I was 18. I made an agreement with this company that I would show up and do my job for 30 years, and they would give me a retirement, a pension package for being, for fulfilling my end of the deal. And it was not part of my agreement. I had no control, no power in the situation when they sold the company and changed the deal on me. And so I said, I think I can probably rely on myself a little better than I can somebody else to have my future set. And so I literally said, you know what? I remember there was a parts rack where all the parts were stacked in. Like the forklift would come in on one side and put the parts in. I would stand on the other side and pull the parts and put them in my fixture and weld them all up and all this stuff. And I can remember standing there and literally telling myself, Frank, you have a choice here. You have a choice to either quit bitching and do something, or just suck it up and do this for the next 30 years at least, and hope they don't change the deal on you when you're 50 years old because they told you could retire at 55. And what's ironic, this last year I went to the Meltdown. I saw my old supervisor at the airport on the way to Meltdown.
Oh, wow.
He's 53 years old, and he was scared shitless that they would fire him or lay him off before he was 55.
Yeah, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spent 6 years trying to get into. I worked at a sewer plant. Spent 6 years trying to get into it, and they have. It's an amazing benefits package. It's amazing pension, and somebody's like, "Well, would you quit?" And I go, "If I could make more money than I'm making consistently at work, I'd do YouTube for the rest of my life. I'd do podcasts for the rest of my life." But it's extremely difficult to walk away from that kind of a job. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom. Everybody's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told more than once, my boss is like, "Please don't quit. I can't replace you right now." I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. You scratch my back, I will scratch yours every day. Come on. And I mean, there have been some times where, you know, we've been in the same spot. And it's like, you know, people are headhunting, you know, what the hell? And then you talk, you know, the CEO has to come down and bring the hammer down on some people and go, okay, this, you know, we can't do this. And it's comforting, like your videos. It's just it's comforting to know that somebody's got your back, somebody's done it before, and it's still here. I mean, I've made a lot of your Frankisms, and I'm only 30, and I ain't dead. I'm still up here kicking. I'm still working my fingers to the bone, and it's doable. But you know, pride, and I don't want to open up. And my girlfriend slaps me with that every time because I'll come home grumpy, and I know I'm not supposed to come home grumpy, but she's like, "So how was your day?" I'm fine. No, you're not. How was your day? So she'll talk about it immediately. How was your day now? I want to talk about it. She'll smack me. I mean, she will thump me and be like, "You need to talk. You got to talk." I'm like, "I got this." She goes, "No, no." And I mean, it's a pride thing. It's like, you know, I don't want to be affected by anything, and you know, it's difficult to admit that you were affected by something. Something got through your armor today.
Yeah, and that's been a big part of my journey, especially the last year. Is actually what they call connecting with the feminine divine and stuff. You know, as men, we're taught, you know, growing up, you know, not to be emotional or not to feel, to suck it up. I remember when I don't know what age I was. I was a young pup, but I was racing my bicycle with my good friend down a paved road, and he went to turn in the driveway, and literally his pedals got stuck in my front wheel and just slammed me face first in the pavement. And so luckily I had my baby teeth in, but it knocked out my front teeth and scraped all the skin off the top of my lip and both of my shoulders. I had blood all over my bicycle, my Huffy. And when they took me back to my dad's, well, actually they called my dad, and I don't know what the conversation was, but I didn't go home. I stayed at my friend's house. But then when I did go home, the only consolation I got from my dad was, "Well, it looks like you knocked a little dirt off your lip, huh? You know, not how you doing? Are you okay?" You know, it's just like, yeah, you're all right. And it was, you know, for my dad growing up, you know, his father died when he was 3 years old, and his stepfather, you know, I just recently kind of found this out. His stepfather, for whatever reason, would just beat all the boys in the house. You know, his own children and my dad and everybody. So my dad left home at 14 years old, and his only thought process was surviving. And so there's a video I did the other day about the pool at the Moose Lodge that I can remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, the last time that I felt safe and secure, because my dad's going to teach me how to swim, and he told me to jump in the pool, and then he just let me flop around. He didn't catch me. You know, here I was as a child trusting my father to catch me, and he didn't, and he let me panic and all this stuff. Even though, kind of like your story, what you're talking about, your job and stuff, I was just fine. He was right there waiting. But the story I told myself was that I was unsafe, I was unsecure, you know. So at that point, a little piece of me, the true me, broke off. And so, you know, going through this process now, kind of getting understanding, because if you think about your car battery, the battery that's in your truck, there's a positive and there's a negative. And with us, there's a positive, there's a negative, there's a feminine, there's a female and a male. There's an inner and an outer, as above, so below. All this stuff is designed. And so if you think about your car battery, if it's only hooked up to one post, you can't start your car because it's not complete, it's not whole. And so getting in touch and learning is like, wait a minute, there's this other piece of me, this part of me, you know, everything that you really desire in life, you are driven by that emotion. And as men, we don't tune in to that power source. We just go out and make shit happen and just grind it out. And, you know, so that's been a big part of my process, even though, you know, when you start peeling the layers back, you know, there's just a lot more to it than simply, you know, opening up. Opening up is just a start to realize, wait a minute, there's a whole part of me that's missing.
For me, that's the complete opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was raised by a single mom with no father figure in my life. Never met him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like shortly after high school, I was like, man, I got to learn how to be a man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was not raised around firearms, not hunting, rarely fishing, you know, like
Right.
rode my bike a lot, skateboarded with the neighborhood kids. But, you know, I like even now, and I didn't realize it until my wife pointed it out some years ago. Stupid computer. That it just started doing something. She pointed out, she was like, you know, I think that you have a hard time resonating with other men because you were around females your whole life. And I was like, oh, shit, good point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a journey for me personally in the opposite direction of how to learn how to shrug shit off instead of learning how to get in touch with the feminine side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was quite the experience the last 5 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, and so like, you know, on that side of things, like, you know, because I've done some like coaching. You probably met Justin and Tonya Rekla down at the Meltdown.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I actually last year I did quite a few sessions with Tonya, and here's the reason. It's funny as shit. Okay, so have you guys ever seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats?
I've heard about it, but I've never watched it.
Nope.
It's about like a military program back in the 70s and 80s, where they actually had like a psychic part of the army where they did like visions and like remote viewing and all this kind of crazy stuff. And so like me going through my spiritual journey, like I've read so much stuff. I've studied the Bible and then gone through like Napoleon Hill and Outwitting the Devil stuff, and then I've read and I've listened to like Dianetics, the Scientology stuff, and listened to the Tao, some of the Buddhism stuff, and like just going through and kind of like filling in the gaps. And it's like, you know what? If I really want to connect with my highest self and the spirituality, I'll bet these guys, since how they were government, they used to be counterintelligence, former counterintelligence. I said, I'll bet the government trained them really well on how to kind of read through the bullshit. And so I reached out to him, and that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, Justin actually trained with the guy that the movie was about back in the day.
Oh, really?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I connected with Tonya because I knew that I needed to connect and fill in that feminine aspect and get to understand it, get to know it a little better. Because for me, like yourself, Kevin, it was like complete opposite. My mom, her body tried to kill me at birth. I was supposed to be stillborn because she was what they call the Rh negative. I was a rhesus baby. And that means like my mom's blood was Rh negative, mine's Rh positive. So when her water broke, her body saw me as like an invader or a virus and tried killing me. And so I had to have like a blood transfusion right at birth and all this crazy stuff. And I just never felt connected to that female side.
Yeah, I mean, totally different than Kevin. I mean, my dad served in the Marines. Joined the Marines just to go to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
He was 6 days short. They stopped sending guys 6 days before he signed in.
Oh, wow.
And he was angry about it. And I mean, I've seen that man cry 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were when both of his parents died.
Mm-hmm.
One was because when he dropped my brother off at ASU for college. One was I was dying of sepsis from work. and one was something that I can't even remember what it was, but he was, I mean, he was really emotional, and people were like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I don't know. I learned everything not to be emotional, not to be attached, not to cry. Men don't cry. You break your arm, you tape it up, and let's finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's been difficult. I mean, my girlfriend's definitely helping me see the feminine side, definitely seeing me, helping me to see I need to slow down and I need to open up and I need to talk. And it's good. I mean, your videos are amazing. I listen to others' videos, and it's just one of those like, okay, I need to figure out that other side. And like there was one guy at work that asked me, he goes, "So you're not so up and grumpy?" I go, "No, I'm up and grumpy. I'm just not blowing up in your face." And he's like, "Huh, attaching to your feminine side, huh?" I'm like, trying to.
It's a process, folks.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes through, what I talk about sometimes, the four levels of knowing shit. Like there's stuff that you don't know. You just don't know what you don't know. You never picked it up. Either you never paid attention or you just were never really shown that. And so then the next step is, what you don't know. There's things that have been pointed out to you. So how do you know that? You look for patterns in your life. The same stupid arguments, the same money situations, the same health problems, the same whatever. Look for patterns in your life, and you'll see the things that you don't know that keep biting you in the ass. So once you know what you don't know, then you have a choice to stay in stupidity or to make a choice to go find new knowing. People have written books and books and books about franking stuff up. Go find a book. And then what happens is the third step is what you know. And that's kind of like a toddler. When they go from crawling to walking, they're wobbly and they have to watch every footstep. They have to consciously think about it. So that was me in 2013 when I went to that it's called Men's Encounter, the men's event. I realized how harsh I could be. I never realized in my life that I'm a high D in the profiles, the disc profiles, a dominant, inspirational, supportive, a cautious. A D gets shit done. A D is like unemotional. They make things happen. Stubborn. All these things. I didn't know. I just knew that I wanted to get shit done. Why the hell are you crying, woman? We got shit to do. And I did a video about this one time called "Here's Your Fucking Answer," because me being a D has clarity of vision and knows the next step. And so instead of listening to understand, I would listen to respond. Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits.
Mm-hmm.
I was
just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening just long enough to figure out what needed to happen and go, oh, well, here's your answer. Let's go. Let's move. And so, that whole process, when I discovered kind of how brutal I could be, there's like a trail of blood behind me, but we got shit done. Then I literally, man, I felt like a steer, and a steer, as you guys would know, is a castrated bull. I was like, man, I don't know how to be. I don't know who am I? Whose thinking am I thinking? And that's when that all kind of started coming in on me. And it probably took me like 3 or 4 years before I really felt comfortable just being me. And so that third step, you know what you know, until, the fourth step is you don't know what you know because you know it so well. It's just a natural, it's a habit because you've practiced the right things so many times, that when you walk up to an event and say, hey, my name's Frank, what's your name? You start conversations, you connect with people and you feel, and then you're present.
Yeah, I like that.
That some people say things or you smell something that sparks a memory. I can't remember what it's called. But one thing that really got me is it said something like, never be the smartest person in the room. I was like, oh, okay. like be teachable
Mm-hmm.
because they obviously nobody knows everything. So that just what you said, I was like, that actually kind of feeds into that. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All the way it does.
Yeah, we do that at work all the time. I mean, I've been at work for 3.5 years. I know a very good portion of my job. And we have a challenge that if you know everything, the person that's been there the longest will ask you, where to find something.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time it's like, where's the water heater on this level? Well, there's usually not a water heater on that level. They're just saying that to get you to say, oh, yeah, it's right here. Well, you're wrong. You
Right.
need to figure that out. And, yeah, I mean, I love learning new stuff. And my girlfriend thinks that some of it's kind of weird and stupid. And I'm like, how is it weird and stupid if I'm learning something? I mean, I got to be able to learn. I got to be able to keep swimming. And
Mm-hmm.
if I don't, I mean, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah, all the way. All the way.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Kind of like this Facebook stuff. Oh, my gosh. We'll get it one of these days.
You seen the movie Funny People?
No.
I don't think I've heard
It's
of it.
got Sandler in it and Jonah Hill and Will Ferrell and all them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's about a bunch of comedians, and they have an event, and Tom from MySpace is there, and then the comedian goes up and he finishes off by saying "fuck Facebook," and that's exactly how I felt. I was getting so irritated, man.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's been several times we've had that happen, during the Home of the Hustle days, and that's something that, kind of, the page is still there, but, I quit putting energy into it. Not just because like I realize, there's only so much energy in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, okay, I've got these certain things that really need my energy. So yeah, the video stuff, man, it's a process getting that stuff figured out.
Yeah, it is.
We're learning a little bit at a time. Like this YouTube stuff and anything else. I mean, one of the guys at work asked me, he goes, "How can you do retarded stuff on your YouTube stuff?" I go, "Because you're afraid to do it in real life." And he goes, "Well, yeah." I go, I mean, it happens. I mean, I would rather do that. I'd rather see somebody else jump off a cliff and break their leg because I don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Well, so how come you don't do any edits?" Well, because we don't want to have to do it because it irritates us on the first go.
Because it sucks. We're lazy. No, it's actually kind of funny. I was reflecting on that last night because we did that live, and it was about an hour long actually. And we got done. My wife and I were laying in bed, and she starts watching the live video. She watched the whole damn thing.
Oh, really?
An hour long. And I was like, well, if it captivated your attention, I mean, us being dumb is funny.
All right, there we go. Yeah.
So we're doing something right, apparently.
Yeah. We are. We want to try to branch out and get as much stuff to people as we can, and like we're talking to you. I know there's probably a lot of people that haven't heard some of those stories. Maybe they've never heard of Baby Beard Club. Maybe they never heard of the VA. I definitely never knew that you married a hot Australian lady. So
I was surprised that you didn't drop the term Ostromish.
Astronomer.
What?
Yeah, I've told her that before, that she's, and the funny thing is, for people that are watching this, or if you put this on a podcast, we live in Kansas, and there's literally, still horse and buggies here, and from the Amish and stuff.
Amish country.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wondering what that was
homemade serums and
yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, we literally have like underground raw butter and milk and cheese and stuff straight from the farm in the fridge.
That's awesome.
He's like Seth Green from Sex Drive.
Oh.
I've never watched. I don't know.
It's funny. He pulls up in a horse and buggy. Their car broke down. It was a '69 GTO Judge,
Yeah.
427 Hemi.
There's the
He
Hemi.
goes, "Can you guys use a hand?" And they're like, "Sorry, no offense." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't know anything about your names off everything about the car." And they're like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, see you later." And so there's a couple scenes later, he's riding with him, and he's like, "Yeah, we saw this and this on the internet." And he's like, "The internet?" He's like, "It's like a bunch of computers that are tied together." And he's all, "Computer?" He's like, and he's like, "I'm just fucking with you, dude. I know what a computer is." Super funny. Like, he just pretends to be Amish, or he is Amish, but he pretends to be all naive about it. It's funny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're a funny bunch.
Oh, yeah. My girlfriend wants to move to Kansas, and I'm not sure if I want to. She wants to go to Colorado for sure, and I'm like, I hate Colorado. No.
Yeah,
but yeah, she wants to have land now, because I told her, I'm like, we can live wherever as long as I have land. That's all that I care about. And she was, let's go to Kansas. I'm like, I don't want to go to Kansas. And this was last year before I even knew who Frank Sell was. And I'm like, I could get it straight from the source now. Just walk up, hand you $20. Thanks.
You have to make sure we have the security system disengaged.
Yeah, I don't want 120 pounds hitting me at full speed.
Yeah, he's getting old. He's missing a step or two now, so you might have a chance.
Maybe he responds to treats better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, we've been talking for almost an hour. We almost fixed our Facebook stuff. Yeah, I think this is a good kind of dig into Frank and what happened, where he came from, how he built. I mean,
it kind of turned into I went from the idea of doing Baby Beard Club specific to kind of a Home of the Hustle episode.
Yeah,
but whatever. It's all good.
It's kind of covering all of it. I think it was good.
Yeah, I mean, kind of all rolls in together, so you kind of have to, it's the whole story.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it was good.
Very good. Good stuff.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks to you for being patient with our dumbasses trying to figure out how to use technology.
No, I was just laughing because, like, man, I know how those guys feel.
Well, we were just sitting back going, Frank's just going, these dumbasses, just stupid.
Just push the
button. I was waiting for you to connect, and I'd hear Red Foreman on the other end. Dumbass.
It's not the first time I've heard that. Somebody said that the other day. Said, I reminded them of Red Foreman. It is, I don't know, something about this. They're like, they can just see, like, my face. It just, dumbass.
That's all right. At least you don't look like an angry old man like I did in the screenshot you just sent me.
That's beautiful, by the way. We're going to find a way to put that in a video.
I'll just use that as a...
it's like the old man taking a picture, like, how's this thing work?
That was like our first video. I was like this close to my face, and I was like, is this thing on?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put this on DoubleB. We'll put it on YouTube. I mean, we'll spread it out if you want to spread it out, and maybe we'll get together again and talk about some other stuff, maybe some upcoming products, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe do like a bi-weekly show or something. And something, it's like if for the folks that are watching this, Brad and Kevin are actually ambassadors for Baby Beard Club. And what that means is that, it takes a certain amount of money and so on to push a product out. So we have to pay like Facebook or Google for ads or so on. And so this goes back to some of the stuff I learned in network marketing. And it's about community building. It's about, what is your purpose and your mission? So that's all part of it. It's just, having fun and making money and making a difference. That's what it's all about. A really good, a good business makes a profit and a great business makes a difference. And that's what I love about what we're doing is we have the ability, to actually do something. That's why every bottle says welcome to manhood on it, because that's our purpose. That's our mission, is to help bring men into manhood and, really know why you believe what you believe and stand for something.
Yeah. I'd be down for a bi-weekly.
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's work it out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll get schedules arranged. It may be a little bit difficult because he's planning on, driving 2 hours south from where he's at now, but we can figure it out.
Dude, it's Zoom. You can connect to as many people as you want.
I don't have it on here.
Get it. It's a free app. Go to the app store.
I'm lazy. It's 10 o'clock. It's
I
11
will,
his time.
I will send it to you. And then all you have to do is click it.
Okay. All right.
Jeez.
I'm a sewer worker. If it ain't leaking or pumping, I don't know how to do it.
I'll leave that one alone.
Well, awesome, brothers. Yeah, like you said, I'm going to get off of here and go snuggle up with my hot Australian wife. Call it a night.
Yeah, man. Tell her sorry that we kept you up so late.
I will probably do that tomorrow.
Cool, man. Hour-long video. We could probably do like a Google Drive and share the video.
Yeah, there's Google Drive and there's some WeTransfer, something. There's a way to transfer the videos and stuff. We'll figure it out.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Peace out.
All right, man. Peace.
Enjoy.